Welcome to part 3 of Enlightenment in the Revolutionary World. Now we're going to talk about the effects of the Philosophes. Now, collectively, the Philosophes seem to present one of two possible courses of action. Prior to Rousseau, the Philosophes seemed to expect the monarchs and the nobles to put an end to privilege and bigotry, that it should be their responsibility to deal with the current intellectual issues. After Rousseau, though, you have a suggestion, especially by Rousseau, that the entire rotten system needs to come crashing down, that the ancien regime needs to be dismantled and abolished, right? Both of these things are going to be tried, right? Rousseau's radical solution would bear fruit in the American and French revolutions, right? But first, the kings and nobles will get their shot. Now, of course, Britain and France didn't pay a whole lot of attention to these guys. In fact, France went so far as to ban a lot of these writings. But Eastern European monarchs, specifically 3 of them, will give a try to some of these Enlightenment ideas to hopefully strengthen and hold on to their power. Catherine the Great ruled from 1762 to 1796. She ruled Russia, and she's the first Russian ruler since Peter the Great to have a stable, long reign. And she would continue Peter the Great's policies of westernization, right? Reform and westernization. Catherine herself was a German princess who had come to the throne after a coup had overthrown her husband. But she had read many of the Philosophes, right? In 1767, she named a legislative commission elected by all free men. These were men who were above the rank of serf. If you were not at least the rank of, above the rank of serf, you were not a free man, and called on them to reform the law, right? Now, she sought to westernize Russia by founding schools that encouraged publishing and journalism, but what happened instead is it led to a rebellion. The Pugachev Peasants' Rebellion, which was a Cossack uprising, in 1773 and 1774, caused her to turn authoritarian, right? The uprising was successful for a time, but ultimately the rebellion was crushed by the imperial army. Once that was done, Pugachev and numerous other supporters were executed, and all future reforms by Catherine the Great were designed to increase her royal power and extend serfdom. Matter of fact, she gets that term, the Great, for her foreign policy successes against Poland in 1795 through 1797, a successful war against the Ottoman Empire from 1768 to 1774, and again from 1787 to 1792, right? She doesn't get the term the Great for her social reforms. Next, we have another the Great, Frederick II, or Frederick the Great. He's going to rule from 1740 to 1786. He's going to rule Prussia. He had also read the Philosophes. Frederick rationalized and simplified Prussian law. He encouraged industry, established tariffs to protect local industry. He promoted scientific agriculture and encouraged immigration into Prussia of tradesmen and professionals, and encouraged education, and was even sympathetic to the American Revolution, right? But Frederick ultimately remained a very authoritarian leader, right? He held on to the old age hierarchy, the ancien regime structure, and he also squandered the treasury in the pursuit of military glory. Finally, we have Joseph the Great. Just kidding, no greats this time. Joseph II of Austria. He was really motivated by Enlightenment thinking, right? Initially, he was the regent for his mother, Maria Theresa, right? And under her reign, he, as a regent, will reform and centralize the bureaucracy of the Austrian Empire. He'll centralize it in Vienna. He'll begin to force nobles to pay taxes. He'll limit the amount of labor required of the serfs. Finally, in 1780, though, he will become emperor in his own right. As emperor, Joseph II is going to reform the law. He's going to declare religious toleration. He's going to dissolve the contemplative monasteries, and he's going to use the proceeds from that land to endow hospitals. He imposed a proportional tax on everyone, right? Tax by proportional wealth. He imposed a German language across the entire empire so that government could be handled more efficiently. efficiently. And finally, he abolished serfdom and gave the emancipated serfs land. So, a lot of great reforms here, except they were very heavily resented by the existing aristocracy. Also, the Roman Church, the Roman Catholic Church. And, all those ethnic minorities that lived in there that didn't like conducting business in just German. So he had a lot of enemies within. So many, in fact, that he actually is going to create a secret police to watch over his own people, to watch over his enemies, foreign and domestic, right? Joseph II died just 10 years into his reign, 1790, probably just worn out with all the stresses of rule. But he had clearly hoped that he could reform Austria along Enlightenment thinking. Now, these three monarchs all had made attempts at it, and all of them pretty much had fallen back on several aspects of the Ancien regime, right? But remember, reform of the monarchs is not the only way. There is another way to get these changes in place through revolution, and we're first going to see this on the American continent.